we know that it's most important to our Tulsa community. So thank you.
And board, before Superintendent Johnson leaves, do you guys have any questions? I have a few, but I wanted to see if you guys had any before I jump in. Superintendent, I appreciate you addressing some of the specific questions that we had so that we could do a deeper dive with you here on what are the steps in place. And I've mentioned to you before, the process and procedure updates have been helpful to enlighten the board as to what those processes are. I think today you came in with some good numbers where we could see a much better, a much fuller picture of where the students are and what those processes are bearing inside the school. I do want to ask you a few questions.
Sure.
One of the ones, you talk a lot about Amira and the successes of Amira, and I told you that. I think that's great. I think that's a great tool. When we're talking about, does the district prioritize the in-person instruction? And so when Amira is in place, if we can kind of just get into the details a little bit, is there a teacher's assistant, a teacher there with them most of the time? Is it completely a student self-directed? Could you kind of just give us a little context for that?
Absolutely. So we have what's called the majority of the students are actually on the Amira platform. And then we have student rotation groups that go to what's called the teacher table. Mm-hmm. The teacher table is where the actual teacher sits down with the students and actually go very specifically over their skill gaps and literally teaching them how to read in real time. What we are finding is when we have teachers' assistants in place, it works better and ensure that the students are focused on their Amira platform and that, you know, any issues that come up, they can help them. Because we lack teachers' assistants, because we just have a need greatly, sometimes it becomes a little bit daunting for the teacher because they're having to manage both that teacher table and the students who are on the platform. But I will say, our teachers are rock stars, and so they do a lot of classroom management, procedural laid out of expectations on how to make that work. And so we're trying to get that better for them. We've been informed that a couple of things that are some issues with Amira that we're working closely with Amira to figure out. One, our students who struggle with speech, who have speech impediment or they struggle. Sometimes Amira may not necessarily pick that up accurately, so we're working on how to get those kinks worked out, as well as sound. So sound has become an issue where when students are speaking into Amira, other sounds are being picked up by another computer, so students get a little frustrated, and so does the teacher. So we've been in communication with Amira. They've been amazing with working with us, so we're getting those kinks worked out.
Okay, that's great because I wanted to make sure we had an accurate picture. When we're seeing the statistics around students with Amira, that's not the student completely off on their own. This is a student in a classroom where a teacher's assistant is with them. Is that a fair?
That's exactly right. You're exactly right.
I appreciate too you mentioning the mobilizing staff in a very strategic way and utilizing central office staff as well and prioritizing these areas. And I think that was part of what we asked is kind of give us an update on the resources being deployed. The other question that I have is from you guys had a meeting earlier in the week earlier this week. And we've gotten a lot of questions around Tulsa Public Schools issues with the teacher retirement system. Mm-hmm. And that there could be a significant amount of money owed there. There could be a serious financial problem. So I wanted to give you the opportunity to kind of update us on what those issues are and give us some clarity there.
And with all due respect of the process, I will say that it's a little bit in litigation, so I won't go into too much detail. I'll just say that, one, we have every intention on working very closely with the Oklahoma Teacher Retirement System to get this worked out. Mm-hmm. Just to give a high-level overview of what we are learning about, or I'll say I'm learning about as the new superintendent, around the due to the title that they hold, which if you say ground supervisor, I'll give an example, but the job description may not actually detail them overseeing a group of individuals. So they're not necessarily supervising people, they're just supervising processes. The Oklahoma Teacher Retirement System have asked that and then have said that we need to pay into their Oklahoma teacher retirement as supervisors. And so there's just some language we're having to get worked out and understood, but we have a group of employees that have not paid into Oklahoma teacher retirement, and we have not paid our part into Oklahoma teacher retirement due to both that misunderstanding over the supervisor discrepancy, as well as a clerical error on our part around not submitting the correct information by way of a form that we needed to fill out for our employees who are opting out of paying into the Oklahoma teacher retirement system. So again, I'm standing here saying that this is something that we're attempting right now to get worked out so that we can be in great standing with the Oklahoma teacher retirement system. Most importantly, take care of our employees in Tulsa Public Schools and make sure that we're having a clarity, a transparent, and understood process that we must follow moving forward. So again, it kind of goes back to some things that Chief Robles Jorge spoke about regarding internal controls. So there are some areas of our organization that we're continuing to shore up best practice and making sure that we are in communication with Oklahoma teacher retirement on a more consistent basis to catch some of these things. So that's a high level view, but essentially our goal is going to be to ensure that we are in good standing with the Oklahoma teacher retirement system.
Well, do we think, is this a $100,000 problem, a multi-million-dollar problem? Can you give us some understanding of the scope of what we're talking about here?
So it's hard for me to state that right now because we do have, again, two sets of situations that we have going on. Again, we have the bona fide individuals that should have been paying into Oklahoma teacher retirement system, and then the amount that we should be paying as well into the Oklahoma teacher retirement system as a district. That's a separate amount from the other, which is the understanding the supervisory and getting that language clarified. With all due permission, I would like some more private opportunity to visit with you about numbers. I think that that's most appropriate due to the level that it's at right now as far as litigation. So I would love to have that opportunity to speak with you about it.
Look, absolutely, and Superintendent, and I'll respect your wishes there. And that's what I appreciate you being forthright with this too, because this was always some of our concerns at the initial output of our interest in TPS and our concerns around TPS were those internal controls. And are we checking all of these things going out? And look, I do appreciate the fact that you're being very upfront with us about, hey, look, there were some mistakes made. We're going to dive into it. So yes, let's. I'd love to do that.
Absolutely. I'll ensure that my executive assistant get us scheduled so that we can talk in even more detail.
Perfect. Board, that's all I had. And I do appreciate it. That was a lengthy presentation, but I think it provided us a lot of clarity for a lot of the questions we had. So do appreciate your patience with that, Superintendent.
Thank you, and thank you to the board. Thank you.